Yo gamers, Malama Vlogs. Today we have another reaction video. I've been contemplating actually reacting to a randomizer just to see what it's like, because in any case, you know, I could make a randomizer at some point. Maybe you guys would want to see that. Haha, you guys definitely want to see that, don't you? But you also want to see P5. But imagine this, I'm posting all of these shorts, which many of you came from, by the way, don't lie. And then, you know, getting more people in, just for the people to see P5 in all its glory. Yeah, cool. So, we are joined here by a pure vessel, the Hollow Knight, the Knight, and the Beast, and of course, Little Mossy. So yeah, we're gonna react to Hollow Knight's Dream Warrior Lore Explained by mossbag. So, let's just get straight into it. Oh yeah! The thing about my reaction videos, I forget to say this. So grab yourself a snack and enjoy the video. I'm gonna turn it up a smidgen. Spoilers for Hollow Knight and Star Wars Episode 7, The Last Jedi. If you haven't played Hollow Knight yet, go play it. If you haven't watched Episode 8 yet. Nice.
The main character from Hollow Knight is really good at killing things.
Yeah.
Old men, newborn babies, and yes, even people who are already
Just to clarify, I'm not the old man, I'm the one killing the old man.
Dead. Throughout Hallownest are numerous ghosts, remnant memories of travelers long gone. There's the gravedigger, who died after falling into a grave.
Yeah, I never really figured out what his issue was. Like, he was like, oh, you're ruining this place, you killed too many stuff. Okay. Fuck.
There's Millibug, who died selling cookies.
He's so cute.
A dangerous profession indeed. And then there's Marissa, the
I would never let my intrusive thoughts win.
butterfly who can be heard singing in the City of Tears. All of these ghosts can be struck with the dream nail in exchange for essence. Now this raises a slew of ethical questions about whether dream nailing a ghost is humane or not. Does
This is good. This is really good.
Actual conscious being? Is being a ghost better than not existing at all? Can they use their ghostly powers to shoot lightning out of the sky? The ghosts in Hollow Knight might seem pretty random, but that's because most of them were actually characters designed by Kickstarter backers. Hence why we get characters like this Guts knockoff, created by David
But
Walding,
why the fuck is his forehead so big?
Kassin, created by Nick. But today, we're going to look at one specific group of backer characters, the Dream Warriors. One of the Kickstarter backer rewards was to create a dream boss that the player would be able to fight. There were originally 10 backers for this tier, but only 7 backers provided details for characters.
Oh,
what happened to the other 3 backers, you ask? Well,
that is Casper the Friendly Ghost. This is Yoda. This is one of those ghosts from Mario? Are they called Boo or something?
well, that's a good question. These bosses don't really give us any greater information about the lore of Hollow Knight, but that hasn't stopped literally billions of people from begging me to do a video on them. So without further ado, here's the Dream Warriors lore explained. First up, we have Xero, created by Constant Fam. This Dream Warrior is located in the Resting Grounds, and will probably be the first Dream Warrior new players find.
He is so
Xero
fucking
dreamt
cool,
of cutting down
the
the infection in his dreams. Because, you know, that's how you fight infectious diseases. Just give everybody swords, obviously.
Yeah.
But then Xero actually turned his nail against the Pale King, likely due to being infected by the Radiance himself. This resulted in him getting executed.
No.
Before his betrayal, it seemed like Xero was actually a faithful soldier, fighting for Hallownest and the Pale King. What exactly was he fighting against? Well, we hear about vague things like the Battle of the Black Worm, but other than that, I don't really know what Xero would have done. Seems like those bugs building the train at Deepnest could have used some military backup, but what do I know? Before the fight, Xero tells the knight that those who hope are already doomed. After the fight, however, he realizes that those who turn against the king are doomed as soon as they raise their weapon. Honestly, I have no idea what this character's arc is supposed to be, but I guess character arcs don't always have to make sense, so whatever.
Elder Who?
Elder Who was created by Donald Lynch. He was a sage who traveled Hallownest tending to those afflicted by the infection. Who died in the fungal waste nearby the mantis village. He explains that the mantises below had become mad with the infection. But of course, we know the mantises weren't infected. So not only is Elder Who dead, but he's also stupid. After his defeat, Elder Who comes to the realization that he was the one infected, and that the mantises actually killed him. This is a common theme among all Dream Warriors. They all think they are still alive when the night finds them. This is actually different from how Team Cherry originally asked backers to write their dialogue. From their original email explaining what details they needed from backers, Team Cherry expected the Dreamers to actually know they are dead. Also, the Dreamers were originally going to drop medals that had little messages attached to them, which later became what we see in the Hunter's Journal. Another interesting change made is the location of the Dream Warriors. It appears the warriors were all going to be—
There he is! There he is! The guy— Nah, actually it's not that bad. Like literally, if you're looking for any tips on Markoth, like it's just, you know, abuse phase 1, where he only has 1 shield. Every time he swings it around, just fucking hit him on his skull. Just keep doing that. Gather a lot of resources. Try not to get hit. It can be a bit harder sometimes than usual. But as soon as he hits phase 2, I am pretty sure you only— this is if you have Shaman Stone, you hit him with 3 Vengeful Souls. But I don't think he can be up against the wall, because I think he has to be able to be moved by the Vengeful Soul, so he'll be hit twice. 3 times and he's gone. No issue. Of course, this is not on Radiant difficult, this is just P5.
Be found in one location, the Queen's Glade. We can tell from an old development map of Hallownest that the Queen's Glade was located where the current day ancient basin is found, just below the White Palace Foundation. The Glade was guarded by Fierce Dryya, who was originally going to be a boss. In other words, there would have been 11 boss fights in just this—
Me saying I wish is not that I want a mod to do it. I mean, I could, maybe, at some point.
one spot of the map. Honestly, I'm happy Team Cherry decided not to do this. Putting the Dream Warriors in their own locations makes them feel more organic, like they actually belong in the world.
Yep.
Elder Who appears to be based on the Buddhist tradition, as he wears mala, or prayer beads, around his neck. I would normally say this feels out of place, but it seems like Team Cherry is actually going to incorporate another character into Silksong, who uses this same aesthetic.
Okay.
Chakra. So it seems like we might get a—
Oh, Silksong is gonna be so good. And if you guys are new here, if you wanna watch the second best playthrough, just behind your own, feel free to subscribe, of course.
a little more information about whatever—
I will make sure to try to make it as unique as possible. And if you are actually new here, like, check my playthrough.
Elder Who was a part of when Hollow Knight Silksong releases in 2054. Galien was created by Zachary Verdon and can be found in Deepnest. Galien proclaimed himself as the strongest warrior in Hollow Knight.
Was he the first? Nah, I think Xero was actually the first, but Galien was the second.
That
I
and
found.
claims he is only interested in fighting the knight for the sake of jolly combat. Galien traveled into Deepnest so that he could train himself by fighting the bugs found there, but he was eventually killed off by the beasts. What's interesting about Galien is that he actually comments about seeing his own body laying on the ground,
Yeah.
but he doesn't even recognize that it's him. That seems to confirm that ghosts are not just confused, but in denial about their own deaths. I mean, Wayner in the Spirit's Glade is literally holding his head in his hands, and still thinks he is alive. Anyone who watches shows about real-life, actual ghost hunting knows that ghosts tend to be human spirits trapped in the past, ignorant of the fact that they are ghosts. Another kind of interesting but not really fact is that Galien is the only Dream Warrior to actually use a physical weapon during combat.
Oh,
The other
shit.
Dreamers just shoot magical projectiles, or roll up into a ball, or summon ghosts of their dead babies to attack you. Kinda makes me wonder how bugs like Xero and Gorb actually fought when they were alive. Marmu was created by Zara Pellin, aka William Pellin's own mother. Marmu acted as the protector of the Queen's Garden, waiting
Marmu!
patiently for the return of her queen, presumably the White Lady. Apparently the White Lady was going to teach Marmu how to fly, Which seems kind of odd considering the white lady wouldn't know the first thing about flying, considering she is literally a plant. A flying root? What's next? Pigs walking on land? Marmu appears to be based
I mean, we've seen so many things in this game. I don't think that is too far-fetched.
on a real-life insect called a pus moth caterpillar. This could be why Marmu talks about learning to fly, but this raises a lot of questions about how we should examine Hollow Knight lore. This would technically mean that Marmu is going to transform into a moth, but she doesn't seem to be related to the moth tribe. So are there groups of moths that wander around outside the moth tribe?
Probably.
Does Marmu even care about dreams of the dead, like the moth tribe did? Can Marmu shoot fucking swords out of her face? To me, it seems like Marmu really doesn't have anything to do with Seer and her group. Marmu being based on an insect that becomes a moth in real life doesn't mean this character has anything to do with the other moths. There just isn't a narrative or even aesthetic connection between them. This same thing happens with the grubs.
No.
I always see comments from people trying to tell me that the grubs are going to turn into little radiances because they're caterpillars. And while that might make sense on the surface, we know that grubs turn into grubberflies, which is just a completely made up thing. The biology of bugs in Hollow Knight doesn't have to follow reality by any means. For all we know, Marmu might evolve into a 2001 Honda Civic. However, there is one Dream Warrior that is directly tied to the Moth tribe.
Oh, Markoth. I mean, he is so badass, right? Like, in general, he's badass, but he's also kind of like a pussy because he's using a shield. Not only one, actually, he's actually using two. But he is really cool. He is really cool. He is one of the only ones I did a voiceover of because I mean, I did read all of the others, you know, with the first time I met them, but this guy, I accidentally skipped. I literally just hit him with the dream nail, and then the fight started. So, yeah, it was just a little nice thing. Because I first found him when I had to do P4. Well, I didn't find him, actually. No, I found him long ago, but I couldn't get there because I didn't have the shade cloak. And then, you know, when I was at P4, I was like, wait, I'm missing this? And then I had to go and find him. And I literally just used Google, and it was done.
Markoth is unique to the Moth tribe, however, as he was one of the only members to take up a weapon.
He also
In fact,
has Mala
the only
beads.
other moth we know of who did this is Thistlewind, another Becker character found in the Spirit's Glade. Thistlewind even mentions Markoth, making him the only Dream Warrior to ever be acknowledged by anyone other than the Knight. Markoth can be found on the outskirts of the Kingdom's Edge. Thistlewind says he came out here to uncover some forgotten truth. Unfortunately, Markoth is too busy threatening us with death to tell us what he was looking for. Maybe he heard about the worm corpse, or maybe he wanted to learn about the hive, or maybe he wanted to see what was beyond this stupid ass tent. I was lucky enough to get into contact with Samuel Dixon.
Okay, you guys probably didn't see that, but that was Ronald McDonald at the side.
Originally designed Markoth, and Samuel was even able to provide me with his original instructions for Markoth that he sent to Team Cherry. If we compare Samuel's dialogue to what made it into the final game, we can see that Team Cherry kept Markoth's battle-worn, stoic personality. However, after being defeated, Markoth gained some perspective in the final game, as opposed to still being a complete dick. Finally, we can see
Wait, let me read that. Let me read the thing that wasn't Samuel Dixon's, which was his, a crowdfunder or something. There, you have bested me. Are you proud of yourself? Do you feel this was worth it? Now leave me so I may finally get some peace. Okay.
Final game, as opposed to still being a complete dick. Finally, we can see that the dialogue for the emblem Markoth would have given you
I hope this was worth the effort. May your efforts lead you somewhere worthy.
Similar to the quote in the Hunter's Journal. According to Samuel, Markoth was supposed to position himself in the far corners of the room, and then throw 2 nails and his shield at the Knight. The Knight could then deal damage, which would prompt Markoth to move to a different corner of the room. In the final game, Markoth kinda just floats around wherever he wants, like a fart in the wind.
5 masks?
Samuel didn't have any lore to share with me about Markoth, so whatever his connection is to the lore of Hallownest, it appears to have been manufactured by Team Cherry themselves. So unfortunately, we still don't really know the finer details of what truth Markoth was looking for. There is another incredibly cryptic Dream Warrior that we really do need to discuss.
No
The
eyes.
deep and disturbing lore surrounding this character has haunted me for years now, and I think it's finally time we discuss them. I am of course talking about Gorb. A monument to Gorb can be found in the Howling Cliffs,
I agree.
where he is described as the Great Mind. Gorb claimed to contain all the world's knowledge inside his giant brain. Gorb demanded that others bow to him and ascend with him. What does it mean to ascend with Gorb exactly? Was he handing out pamphlets or something? A pretty common theory is that Gorb is actually a God Seeker. This is because of visual similarities and the fact that the God Seeker never shuts up about ascending.
I guess.
However, I would say that Gorb appears to be more like a slug creature, while the God Seekers appear to be bandaged up like mummies, so we don't really know what they look like underneath. So that's one point against the theory. Also, apparently the God Seekers have absolutely beautiful faces underneath their masks, and if we look at Gorb's face, well, actually that checks out.
Yeah, exactly.
So what does the actual dialogue say about Gorb? The Hunter's Journal entry describes Gorb as being a mysterious life form. That's a really interesting word to use. Now obviously any living thing is a life form, but the connection surrounding that word is usually linked to extraterrestrial life. So does this mean Gorb is some kind of alien? That's not all. The Hall of Gods also gives a pretty interesting description for Gorb, calling him a dreamborn god of the beyond. What exactly is the beyond? Could it be outer space? Maybe ascending with Gorb is literally ascending in some kind of spaceship.
The Normandy. Yeah, feel free to watch my Mass Effect playthrough as well. Gamings.
I mean, the architecture of Hallownest seems
You guys
far
don't
too
care about
complex
that,
for
I'm
simple
sorry.
bugs. It would make much more sense if there was some advanced alien race helping build these monuments. All of the unexplainable aspects of Hollow Knight lore have an answer. Where did Bretta go? Aliens. How did the Hollow Knight grow? Aliens. The Pentagon?
Aliens.
Now obviously I am mostly joking, but there really isn't much to go on with Gorb.
Mostly?
The concept of the mind and using it to ascend.
Every time I'm watching these videos and I see that, you know, hit animation where they get hit, you know, that glass shattering effect, it's just... It's not natural to me.
Is a noticeable theme in Hollow Knight, but there doesn't seem to be anything special about Gorb. Gorb was created by Alabar Apaponii. Perhaps he could shed some light on why Gorb's backstory is so incredibly vague and odd. I was able to get into contact with Alabar, but apparently he didn't really have a backstory for Gorb. He didn't even give Gorb a name. All he gave Team Cherry was this drawing. This early version of Gorb was a slug that wielded a nail in his mouth. The idea was that he tricked the player into thinking he was weak, but in reality he had great defense. So it seems all of Gorb's strange alien nonsense came from Team Cherry themselves.
Oh no!
This leaves us with one final dream warrior, noice. Noice can be found in the Stone Sanctuary in Greenpath. She was a warrior who disappeared during the infection. Out of all the dream warriors in the game, I'd say noice is the most interesting and the most cryptic. noice was first revealed in a Kickstarter update, where Team Cherry explained that her backstory was one of the most disturbing bits of fiction they had ever read. Unfortunately, they didn't share any details on what her original backstory is, but luckily someone on Reddit was able to contact the original backer, Lisa Kretschmar, and provide us with noice's backstory. According to the Reddit post, noice was off on a quest when the infection spread throughout Hallownest. She had left her children behind, thinking they would be safe.
Oh no.
When she returned, she refused to believe that her children could have been killed by the infection, so she ran inside the sanctuary to get them out safely. She found them inside, both maddened and hungry. noice tried to pick up some of her children, but they swarmed her, devouring her eyes along with the rest of her body. noice's ghost would warn the player to stay away from the sanctuary. Her nursery rhyme that she sings was supposed to actually be instructions on how the player needs to move throughout the room in order to avoid getting hit by the children. The whole battle was just avoiding the ghosts until all the rounds were finished. Of course, in the final game, the ghosts are just the way noice attacks, as she teleports around the room. And the nursery rhyme is just gibberish. Creepy gibberish. This backstory kind of makes sense with NAOW's quote in the Hunter's Journal, which reads, "They're coming. What's inside of you? Strip it out." It appears as though NAOW is warning others about her children coming to eat their eyes out. When the knight interacts with her, she seems to think the knight is one of her children at first. We've seen this before, that sometimes ghosts don't really understand what they are looking at. And well, NAOW is fucking blind, so she'd probably think anyone who walked in there would be her child.
Yeah.
And she starts by saying, "Please don't hurt me," which reinforced the idea that her children attacked her. But then the dialogue takes a bit of a turn. NAOW says that the knight can't sleep with its eyes open, and it can't dream if it's still breathing. Judging by the sentence structure here, NAOW wants the knight to stop breathing so it can dream. There's a pretty strong parallel to the Radiance here, especially when we look at NAOW's other dialogue. So this means NAOW might have succumbed to the infection. We know that Xero and Elder Hu met similar fates, but this isn't guaranteed for all Dream Warriors. Galien died because he was a moron, and Gorb probably died from a coke overdose. So it might be that NAOW was infected and then decided to strip the eyes out of her children so that they could sleep and dream too. That would explain why the ghosts she summons also appear to be missing their eyes. We can tell from NAOW's next line that this resulted in her children saying loathsome things while they slept. This might be a reference to the fact that these bugs' ghosts still haunt the stone sanctuary. Another explanation is that NAOW tore everyone's eyes out as a preemptive measure to try and stop the infection from getting to them. Basically, she's blinded all her kids out of fear, but ultimately they all still perished. After the battle with the knight, we see that all of these spirits are finally put to rest, and NAOW embraces being taken to a place where the Radiance's light and dreams can't haunt her and her children anymore. I'm not really sure how the line "they're coming" fits into either of these two interpretations.
Sad story, happy
Who are
end.
they, if not NAOW's children? The Radiance? Other infected bugs? Regardless, it does seem like Team Cherry tweaked Lisa's original story at least a bit.
I found her super late in the
about the
game.
Dream Warriors. They haven't been discussed much on this channel, but that's mainly just because they are pretty inconsequential to anything that actually happens, unlike, say, a character like Menderbug. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. Small pointless details are what make Hollow Knight such an amazing game, like how the bench in
Does Menderbug actually exist though? Does it actually exist? I don't think I've ever seen a bug actually repairing any signs. Feel free to tell me, I am unsure.
the archive has Modamon's face on it, or how the glowing womb bugs turn into little turds when you have the Defender's crest equipped, or how the nailsmith's rotting corpse can be found in the junk pit.
What? Is this real? I have been there many times. I should have seen that. I should have seen that if that is true.
Amazing. By the way, have you heard of a little hellhole called Discord? If so, maybe you'd like to check out my new Discord server called Mossbag and Friends. There you can talk about all things Hollow Knight or Mossbag related, like discussing the moral implications of dream nailing ghosts, or bitching
I would never do such a thing.
about how the latest Indie World presentation didn't shadow drop Silksong.
Well, I guess, you know, the video is done. So, also guys, if you guys want to, you can join my Discord. I usually post updates there. Also about my P5, I had a little bit of a revelation yesterday, so yeah, feel free to join. It is in the description below. It should be at the top. So, of course, thank you Mossbag for this exquisite video. And of course, go ahead and check it out. I should have put this in the description below as well. Make sure to check him out as well. I say that to a 485,000 subscribers channel, and I am like 2.9. But yeah, thank you all so very much for watching. And of course, thank you for your patience. And feel free to leave a like and subscribe to stay tuned for more. And until next time, and 3, 2, 1, fades away.